time he decided to try to stock of a theatrical company in a hope of finding not only clothes but also something that would hide the empty space above his shoulders. Shivering with cold, and he hurried to Drury Lane, the center of the theatre world. He soon found a suitable shop. He made his way invisible upstairs and came out of the little later wearing bandages around his forehead, dark glasses, false nose, big bushy side whiskers, and a large hat. To escape without being seen, he cautiously attacked the shopkeeper from behind, after which he robbed him to all the money he could find. Eager to get away from the crowded London, he took a train to the village of Leaping, where he booked 2 rooms at the local inn. The arrival of the stranger in an inn in the winter was in any case an unusual event. A stranger of such uncommon appearance set all tongues wagging. Mrs. Hall, the landlord's wife, made every effort to be friendly. But Griffin had no desire to talk and told her, "My reason for coming to Imperial is a desire of solitude. I do not wish to be disturbed in my work. Besides, an accident has affected my face." Satisfied that her guest was an eccentric scientist, and in view of the fact that he had paid her in advance, Mrs. Hall was prepared to excuse his strange habits and irritable temper. But the stolen money did not last long, and presently Griffin had to admit that he had no more ready cash. He pretended, however, that he was expecting a check to arrive at any moment. Shortly afterwards, a curious episode occurred. Very early in the morning, a clergyman and his wife were awakened by the noises in the study. Creeping downstairs, they heard the chink of money being taken from the clergyman's desk. Without making any noise, with a poker grace firmly in his hand, the clergyman flung upon the door, "Surrender." Now, who are clergyman? Clergyman is a male priest or minister or a religious leader. So, this time he decided to try the clothing of the theatrical world, as he knew that he would surely find something there to cover his face with. So he quickly reached Drury Lane and the center of the theatrical world as he was shivering with cold. So he found a shop according to his needs and entered it. He came out wearing bandages around his forehead, false nose and side whiskers, and a hat. Then, as he did not have any money, he attacked the shopkeeper and robbed him of all his money. Then he felt that London was too crowded and decided to go to a small village nearby Leaping. He took a train and booked 2 rooms in a local inn, and the event of the stranger coming and staying in the inn the winter night was not a normal thing to happen, and everybody started talking about it also because Griffin looked very strange. The landlord of the inn where Griffin stayed, Mrs. Hall, made a lot of efforts to be friendly with Griffin, but he did not want to talk. So he clearly told her that his reason for coming to here was for peace and quietness, and he did not wish to be disturbed in his work. And also he told her that an accident had affected his face, due to which he had to cover it. The landlord's wife, Mrs. Hall, accepted that her new guest was a strange scientist and was ready to excuse her temper and habits, as he had paid her in advance. Then the time came when his money was over and he had no ready cash available for further payment that the inn. So he had pretended that he was waiting for a check which could arrive at any moment. Then something really strange happened. The clergyman and his wife were awakened by some noises in their study room. When they were coming downstairs, they could hear the sound of money being taken from the clergyman's desk. The clergyman held the metal rod on his hand and flung the door open, and as soon as he opened the door. He said, "Surrender," as he thought he could caught the thief. Then to his amazement, he realized that the room appeared to be empty. He and his wife looked under the desk and behind the curtains and even up the chimney. There wasn't a sign of anybody, yet the desk had been opened and the housekeeping money was missing. Extraordinary affair, the clergyman kept saying for the rest of the day. But it was not as extraordinary as the behavior of Mrs. Hall's furniture a little later and that morning. The landlord and his wife were up very early and were surprised to see the scientist's door wide open. Usually it was shut and locked, and he was furious if anyone entered his room. The opportunity seemed too good to be missed. They peeped round the door, saw nobody, and decided to investigate. So the bed clothes were cold, showing that the scientist must have been up for some time, and stranger still, the clothes and the bandages that he always wore lying about the room. All of a sudden, Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close of her ear. A moment later, the hat on the bed spot leapt up and dashed itself into her face. Then the bedroom chair became alive. Springing into the air, it charged straight at her legs foremost. As she and her husband turned away in terror, the extraordinary chair pushed them both out of the room and then appeared to slam and lock the door after them. Mrs. Hall almost fell down the stairs in hysterics. She was convinced that the room was haunted by spirits and that the stranger had somehow caused these to enter into her furniture. "My poor mother used to sit in that chair," she moaned. "To think it should rise up against me now." The feeling among the neighbors was that the trouble was caused by witchcraft. But witchcraft or not, when news of the burglary at the clergyman's home became known, the strange scientist was strongly suspected of having had a hand in it. Suspicion grew over stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash, though he had admitted not long before he had no money. The village constable was secretly sent for. Instead of waiting for the constable, Mrs. Hall went to the scientist, who had somehow mysteriously appeared from his empty bedroom. "I want to know what you have been doing to my chair upstairs," she demanded, "and I want to know how it is you come out of this empty room and how you entered a locked room." Now what happened? To their surprise, they couldn't see anyone. They looked under the desk, behind the curtains, and also up the chimney, but the person was nowhere to be seen. Yet the desk had been opened and the housekeeping money was gone. Then the clergyman kept on saying "extraordinary affair" and the whole day because he was shocked by the incident. But the things that happened with Mrs. Hall's furniture were much more fascinating. Mrs. Hall and her husband wake up early and were surprised as the door to the guest room was open. Usually his room's door remained closed and locked, so they used to get very angry if anyone tried entering his room. It was an opportunity and Mrs. Hall did not want to miss it. So they decided to investigate when they saw that nobody was inside the room. His bedsheets were cold, which showed that he must have been up for a while, and also all the bandages that he used to tie around his face were lying around the room. Suddenly Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close to her ear, and Grin's hat that was lying on the bedpost flung towards Mrs. Hall and hit her on her face. Then the chair in the room dashed itself, hitting Mrs. Hall in her legs. As they got scared, Mrs. Hall and her husband were going out of the room. When the chair closed the door, suddenly a sound of slamming the door and locking were heard. This terrorized Mrs. Hall and she was about to fall down from the stairs. She was convinced of thought that there were spirits in her aunt's room and that the stranger had caused this to happen. So Her mother used to sit in the chair which hit her legs and thought that how could it raise up against her. The neighbors of Mrs. Hall thought that it was the witchcrafts which had caused such a thing to happen. When the news of the burglary at the clergyman's house reached other people in the town, everyone started suspecting the strange scientist. Suspicion grew stronger on him, and when he produced ready cash for his payment at the inn, even though he had told some time back that he did not have money and was waiting for a check to arrive, the village constable was called for, and Mrs. Hall did not want to wait for him. So she went straight to Griffin as he had appeared from the empty bedroom in that inn. So she asked him what had he been doing upstairs to her chairs and furniture. She also asked him how did he come out in the empty bedroom or enter the locked bedroom. The scientist was always quick-tempered now. So he became furious. You did not understand what I am. He shouted, "Very well, I will show you." Suddenly he threw all bandages, whiskers, spectacles and even nose. It took him only a minute to do this. The horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at the headless man. Mr. Jaffers, the constable, now arrived and was quite surprised to find that he had to arrest a man without a head. But Jaffers was not easily prevented from doing his duty. If a magistrate warrants ordered a person's arrest, then that person had to be arrested with or without his head. There followed a remarkable scene as the policeman tried to get hold of a man who was becoming more and more invisible as he threw off one garment after another. Finally, a shirt flew into the air and the constable found himself struggling with someone he could not see at all. Some people tried to help him but found themselves hit by blows that seemed to come from nowhere. Now, in the end, Jafar was knocked unconscious as he made a last attempt to hold on the unseen scientist. There were nervous, excited cries of "hold him," but this was easier said than done. Griffin had shaken himself free, and no one knew where to lay hands on him. Now, the scientist became really angry and started shouting that they don't understand how or what he was and decided to show him the truth. So he removed his bandages, whiskers, spectacles and also his nose also. So it took him just a minute to do all this and the people of the bar were horrified as they looked the headless man. Mr. Jafar, the constable of the village, was surprised as he saw that he had to arrest a man without any head. But Jafar still wanted to do his duty as he knew that the magistrate wanted him to arrest the person and it did not matter that he had a head or not. As he threw away more and more of his clothes, he became more and more invisible and finally after Griffin removed his shirt, he was nowhere to be seen and Jafar was struggling to arrest a man who had been completely invisible. People who tried helping Jaffers were also struggling as they were hit by blows from nowhere.